Hello everyone and welcome back to another fantastic episode of Talking the PS, your weekly show where we round up all of the PlayStation and gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Plays Games and available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. You're joining myself this week at CyberChris2077 alongside our chaotic neutral Rob. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And before we get into it, of course, Richie isn't with us this week. He's got a family party to attend, so he will be on XPass. He was on XPass yesterday, hosting the show, of course. But you've got myself and Rob to break down all of the PlayStation news this week for you fine folks. Of course, we'll be talking about the new PlayStation Plus games added to the premium extra tiers. Amazing news coming out of PlayStation already embracing cloud gaming, Suicide Squad being delayed, and Spider-Man potentially leaving PlayStation Plus. But before we get into all that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and ring that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here, like our first looks, live streams, weekly streams, and much, much more. This past week, Richie checked out Ghostwire Tokyo, currently available on PlayStation Plus and recently available on Game Pass, and we also jumped into Elden Ring recently, which a lot of people checked that video out, so thank you very, very much. Our shows are always brought to you by our wonderful Helix Heroes, and you can join and become a member from as little as 99p. You get extra perks this very show early, stickers and badges next to your name in the chat, and much, much more. But Rob, you're joining me this week. No Richie, so that means we can talk about what we're playing. What have you been playing on PlayStation, if anything?
Can we not play when Richie's...
No, he doesn't like us talking about video games on these shows.
Oh, yeah.
He's all he's Microsoft podcast. He's all about spreadsheets and Excel and solitaire.
Yeah, I remember that time we talked too much about games, and then Richie punched a hole in a table.
Yeah, he's an angry man. He's an angry man, and the way he deals with it, Rob, is he tucks these toggles on his hoodie into his jumper. If you go and watch his podcast, he always does it. But we digress. What have you been playing?
I've been playing Resident Evil 4 Remake's Mercenaries mode a hell of a lot this week. Particularly, like, I've delved into it a bit more, as I mentioned last week, and kind of I've unlocked all the characters now, and I've got all, like, the stages, and I'm just trying to get, like, the elusive S rank in all of them. But it's so good, like, it's so fun to kind of go from being quite scared of what's happening in that game to being like a complete powerhouse, ripping people apart in the most kind of fun ways possible. So that has been consuming most of my time on the PlayStation side of things. I mentioned in XPass that the Civ 6 kind of symbiote has kind of fused into my core recently, and I'm back in that. But yeah, it's been quite a lot of time sinking into games this week. What about yourself?
Not so much. I am curious. I have been tempted to jump into Resident Evil. I was going to say, after you finished 4, did you go straight into New Game Plus, like all powered up with all of your perks and whistles?
Yeah, like it was like a 2-button press. It was like skip cutscene for the credits, and then literally New Game Plus straight in.
A lot of people I've heard talking about have said like the game's so good, like they've played through it like several times now.
Yeah, they've done like a really interesting thing with collectibles. So when you go through the game, you can get like kind of treasure maps which mark like treasure. And
really?
That means you can kind of like yeah, and that means you can kind of buy stuff from the merchant, the Australian merchant. But there's also kind of hidden collectibles, which are kind of you have to go back through and hunt. So you can do it in layers almost. So the treasure is kind of fairly easy to find and helps with your first playthrough when your weapons aren't as strong and stuff like that. But then you can go again and again, and all these like new collectibles unlock like different outfits, which have different kind of special kind of attributes and things like that. So it's really built for like 2 or 3 playthroughs in my mind.
That's cool. I'm really like my plan is to get to these games at some point. Like I know I keep saying it, but like even several times this week, I've got that itch where everyone's on the hype train with Resident Evil 4. I know I've played about 4 odd hours of RE2, like the remake one back when it launched on PlayStation 4. Had a great time with that, but we only played it over Halloween, so kind of once that season passed, I never went back to it. But I do have this big urge to play through 2, 3, and 4. But I've also got Jedi Survivor on the horizon, and I'm very time constrained at the moment. So it's how long realistically did 4 take you to complete? Would you say?
So the way you play games, because you play them quite meticulously, kind of.
When I'm doing trophies, which
No,
I
but
know the RE4 S rank thing kind of puts me off even attempting to get the platinum, so that'll save me time already.
Yeah. No, I think like I kind of budget for like 30 hours for you, I'd say.
Okay.
Obviously some nutters can do it like in half that time if they just blast through everything. But I came in a little under 30, and I did a lot of backtracking for certain like treasures and stuff like that. So yeah, like a safe 30.
30 sounds all right. So 4's obviously a lot longer than 2. I believe 2 you can there's a trophy for finishing the whole thing in like 3 hours or something, if not less.
Oh yeah, but that's kind of hyper optimized where there's the mechanic in a lot of Resident Evil games where it's quicker and easier if you're going for speed to just let zombies bite you and then like stab them in the head and then like just run off in like the stun block animation.
Yeah.
So
Glitch your way through
there's
it.
a speedrunner achievement, but it's definitely not me.
Yeah, I'm very, very intrigued. But aside from that, all I've been playing is FIFA, Guacamelee 2 briefly, and I don't think I've touched it. I've that weird lull now. I've finished Hogwarts Legacy because I know Horizon Burning Shores is next week, and then Jedi Survivor is the week after. And with me now being back at work after paternity leave as well, I'm very aware of I don't want to commit to anything major if I can't dedicate the time to it. So between these shows and our normal streams, it's almost like I'm just prioritizing things now. So 45 minutes of FIFA on a night here and there, and realistically, I've just been falling asleep. So not much time.
Yeah, let's be real. You committed quite heavily to an important thing about 10 months ago, and then you know.
It's and the achievements come thick and fast with that one. But so not so much gaming, but as much as I can do as a new parent. So we'll talk about more of that in the future. We do have a busy show, lots of stuff to talk about, Rob. So if you could introduce us to the
properly prepared PlayStation Perusing Points, aka the news.
The news. Very well said.
I did that for the first time without reading the doc.
Oh, well done. Well done. It's because Richie's not here.
I was paranoid I'd missed like a P somewhere, but I don't think I had.
No, you got them all. You nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And unlike me on yesterday's show, you remembered to say the news part afterwards as well. You didn't just pause and then wait. Our news, of course, is brought to you by our wonderful Helix Heroes, the fantastic members. Over 50 of you who support us three gentlemen bringing you better gaming content every single week. Shout out to newest members, John Burford, Orange Thunder, and Lawrence van der Star. You are all awesome. You're all legends. Thank you very much for your support. We couldn't do this without you. And, of course, all of the other 50-plus members of the channel whose names should be on the screen now. News stories, first one of the week, Rob. As always, we get our bi-monthly update on PlayStation Plus titles that get added to the premium and extra tiers for those of you out there who are subscribed. And we have a busy month this month with 16 new games hitting extra and premium within the next few days. Kicking things off, I'll just run through them and then we'll just chat about them in general. We have Kena Bridge of Spirits for PS5 and PS4, Doom Eternal, Riders Republic, Wolfenstein 2, Slay the Spire, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, which is near and dear to my heart, as painful as it was. Full playthrough up on the channel now. The Evil Within, Wolfenstein The Old Blood, Bassmaster Fishing, classic, Paradise Killer. Sackboy's Big Adventure is on this list, but it was part of last month as well. But I think it was a claimable one last month, not a subscription one, because I have installed it on my PS5, and when I read this list I was thinking, hang on a minute, I already have this now. So it must have been the other claimable random thing PlayStation giveaway. And if you're on the premium tier, you get treated to an entire slew of Doom games, starting with the original Doom remake, PS4, Doom 2, Doom 64, Doom 3, and Dishonored Definitive Edition. So a couple more for premium members out there. But overall, great list of additions. I'll throw it over to you, Rob. Anything massively that jumps off this list and stands out for you?
I mean, naturally the Doom games, because they just hold a very special place in my kind of nostalgia heart. But Kena Bridge of Spirits, I know, like, we've talked about a fair bit on this show kind of in the past, and it's a game I've never played, and I was kind of on the borderline of buying it.
Right.
So this has kind of like been really, really timely for me. So it's like, I think this is like, I know I can be a bit kind of what's the word, like negative about some of the releases we've had for PS Plus, but this is a good month. Like,
yeah. I completely agree with that. And from my perspective, Kena, Bridge of Spirits, terrific game. You'll thoroughly enjoy it. I got the platinum trophy on it, and it's very much, I think, one of my most proudest ones, because even though it on its front looks like a Pixar movie, which it does, the art style and the direction it's a gorgeous game. The fact that this was this indie studio's first ever game blows my mind. Like, Sony was so clever to market this as an exclusive and going, because it just hits on all fronts. And to get the platinum trophy, you need to finish it on defeat all the game on the hardest difficulty, and it goes from being like a cute Pixar-esque game with these little fluffy creatures called the Rot who follow you around, and you get spells and you can cast shields and everything, to literally turning into Dark Souls. So because you are quite effective at Warlong, Fallen Dynasty and stuff, which Richie obviously can't even get past the first boss still, Kena Bridge of Spirits, I think, will be right up your street, because it has that story, the whimsical fun element, but then it does get mega hard. Like, some of the boss fights in that are brutal, and I think you'll get a really good kick out of it. And it's not too long as well. So if you, again, say pressed for time, it's not too bad. Other games for me... I think that's a good
balance with a game like that, where it's like, sometimes like a long and hard game is just like, it just beats you down, and at the end you're like, this stopped being fun about 10 hours ago.
Yeah.
But I can do kind of short, intense challenges. I think that's a nice balance to strike.
There was a few boss fights in this one where I was racking my brain, unable to get past it, and I would go to bed, get up the next day, and I'd do it in like 2 goes. And it's so weird how that happens. But again, I don't think they're overly bad, but a lot of people got the platinum because early days you could finish it on easy, and then when you get to the last boss, just up the difficulty on the last boss to fudge the whole game.
Okay.
And then I waited for the physical edition because I wanted the actual disc. And the physical edition obviously comes with the latest patch update and everything. So I didn't get the benefit of using that glitch. So I had to do it the old school way. But yeah, you'll absolutely love it. And if you're looking for another challenge, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, that was one of my first playthroughs I did on the channel. And I thought it was just going to be a whimsical side-scroller game. And it was not. And it tore me apart. So both of those games, yeah, really, really testing my limitations and ability. And... what else is on this? Yeah, as you said, the Doom games are all classics in their own right, from 64 all the way through to Eternal. They're all fantastic first-person shooters from a multitude of different eras. You've almost got the whole timeline of Doom's history just in 1 month there.
Basically,
so if you've never played them, and imagine checking out Doom 64 from the origins this month, and then if you enjoy it, you literally could just jump through time and experience its evolution right up until the more modern one.
How cool is that?
Very, very cool.
What I will say is, it's a very Bethesda-heavy list, isn't it? On PlayStation.
So shockingly,
I wonder if there's something that Microsoft are trying to show to Sony and to maybe some legal jurisdictions that they can play ball and bring titles across platforms.
It's always an odd one from the outside looking in, how we not necessarily us two, but the internet acts as though these like hate each other and they're vicious rivals and they don't get along. But the reality is they're two businesses who trade together on a lot of fronts. Like, there's a lot of games, there's a lot of technology that's shared. It is actually in one of our stories later on, but remember the PlayStation and Xbox agreed to share cloud-based systems with Azure, and there was deals to combat Google and Amazon Luna for that front. And then, yeah, there's games now, like we've got Fallout 76, we've got the Minecraft titles. Microsoft actually releasing a couple of games on PlayStation this year alone, like brand new titles. Like Minecraft Legends comes out next week on PlayStation. And we'll probably be playing it on the channel later this week. But it is crazy, and it's that legacy. But I think we get sometimes lost in the weed of, like, they don't really hate each other because they both win. If they make money, they both win.
Yeah, it's like the rivals, and they're both trying to take, like, £10 away from your pocket. But if they can team up and both get £15 out of the deal, 100% they'll do it. Like,
yeah.
You know,
although
these
Bethesda deals, they are interesting, like how far out in advance these games are locked in, because that was the fear, I guess, when Microsoft acquired Bethesda, and that would be the fear with them acquiring Activision, is that all these games that would previously pad out a library of titles on a PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch, they're immediately lessened by that. And myself and Richie had that fear with Google Stadia, because Doom Eternal was supposed to be a launch game for Stadia, and it had a very small library to start with, and I think maybe 3 months after it launched, Microsoft acquired Bethesda, and we're looking at that going, so that's all of the Wolfenstein games, that's the Dishonored titles and stuff, the Doom games, the Fallouts, never coming to Stadia, surely. And I think that is the big fear, that Call of Duty will be taken away from PlayStation at some point. Maybe not in the next 10 years. We know Phil Spencer, 10-year deal, 10-year deal. You keep tweeting about it. But the reality is, like, in a decade's time, Doom, gone off the PlayStation storefront. Wolfenstein, gone off the PlayStation storefront. Fallout, gone off the PlayStation storefront. Call of Duty, Minecraft, finally pulled. Because they don't have to play ball, but as we said there, the big reason they keep doing it is because they all make money. They all win. They all get cash out of our wallets because we're all gamers. And at the end of the day, as much as we like to war and fanboy over things, we'll still play them. We'll begrudge paying and playing, but we'll do it anyway because that's the nature of it all. But definitely terrific list here. A couple of them I'm probably keen to check out. Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, I do actually own. I bought it on disc and I've never opened it yet. It's one of those that I played Wolfenstein 1, probably on PlayStation Plus. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, to my surprise, thoroughly enjoyed it. Bought number 2 because it was in a sale immediately after, and then it just stayed on the shelf. Never put the disc in, never got around to it, and it's still sat there to this day, annoyingly enough. And the Old Blood, I think, was the standalone DLC spin-off, which is equally as fun. But it's odd that we've got the Old Blood and New Colossus, but not the game, if I recall. So we're missing the first game. Think.
Yeah. Is the original already on? Is that the reason?
Quite possibly. Like it might be that one. So you've got the. Where's my screen gone? Yeah, Wolfenstein New Order, which was the kind of reboot of the whole franchise, and then New Order. The Old Blood, which was the kind of expansion, and then the New Colossus, which is the sequel to the reboot. So we're missing the original, but as you said, it may already be on. So do let us know in the comments below if you've already got it and played it. I mean, I've played it on there, so at some point. And I'm ready to check out Sackboy, just because I wanted Sackboy as a PS5 launch game when I got my console. But when you have to refrain from just buying everything at launch because there's so many launch titles. I did it with my PS4 where I think I bought about 5 games alongside my PlayStation 4 because I was that giddy spending all the money and buying. It was the first console I bought with my own adult money that wasn't like subsidized by a birthday gift or my parents. And I went all in on it. I got everything, 2 controllers, the all bells and whistles. So when I bought my PS5, I had to tell myself, no, Chris, you don't need to buy Sackboy's Big Adventure and Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Spider-Man Miles Morales and this and that. So I showed restraint. And it's paid dividends because now it's available.
I love the evolution there, where it's like PlayStation 4, like you're excited and you're like, oh, I can get this because it's my money.
Yeah.
But now, as you've got older, it's like, I'm not getting this because this is my money. And it's like,
spend my money on shitty things like council tax and gas and electric. But Sackboy's Big Adventure looks really, really fun. It's co-op, third person action platforming. And this game gets lots of praise for its use of music. A lot of people don't realise it, but it's got real-world, like classic pop songs and cultural songs intertwined into the gameplay mechanics. And similar to kind of Rayman Legends, it uses it really, really well to its advantage. So go check those games out. It's fun. It's good. I'm hoping to play it with the wife, but again, it's how much time we get to sit down with just us two and not a screaming, crying baby, because this would be a game we'd probably jump into in the past. Now one of us has always prioritised doing something else, so maybe not, but there's definitely some fun to be had there. Moving on, though, to the next story of the week, a bad story, I guess, but no surprise to us. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League from Rocksteady has been delayed. No surprise, but they tweeted out earlier on in the week making a statement saying, we've listened and we are ready to delay the game. Unfortunately, we've made the tough but necessary decision to take the time needed to get to work on getting the game to the best quality experience for players. Thank you for your amazing community and support. Patience and understanding. There is much more to share in the months ahead, and we look forward to seeing you in Metropolis next year. So it's been delayed until the 2nd of February 2024, which by the time this launches, Rob, if they stick to this date, that means this game has been in development for 9 years. The last game from Rocksteady was Batman Arkham Knight, which came out in 2015. So we joke about the PlayStation 4 that I bought. I bought that in 2013. So the last game the studio put out wasn't far from when I actually made that big grand purchase and bought all those games. Any surprise to you?
No, and that's the sad state of affairs. It's just not a surprise at all. To go from the kind of unrivaled heights, some would argue, of like the original Arkham trilogy to be floundering this long, and I'm guessing it was like just like the overwhelming reaction to the actual game that's kind of caused them to do this. But all I can think about is the more the more time they take to kind of refine it, the older and older it feels.
It's took so long that the interest levels have waned so much that it doesn't matter almost when they put it out. Because remember, this was part of the PlayStation had a state of play video exclusive to show off this game less than a month ago, and it got so much backlash that it created absolute chaos, and the comments were all negative, and people were talking about the game in such a passionate manner that they just wanted, in a way, another Batman game, and it just never seemed to come. So it's really to no surprise then that Suicide Squad, Killer Justice League, Rocksteady have stepped in and said, look, we're going to take more time. I don't honestly think they'll have that much time to almost like course correct it in a weird way, even though its fundamentals are already in place. It's going to take a little bit more. And of course, this was Kevin Conroy's final game anyway, so there's a big expectation on kind of Batman delivering. Even though the game's not focused on Batman, there is that kind of honor expectation that's coming into it, and delaying it. It's kind of what we were talking about yesterday on XPass about Redfall, with the problems they've been having, and should they haven't delayed it, but should they maybe delay it? And a good game's always bad unless it's fixed kind of situation. But 9 years, man. When again we said that, I think you and me are both on the same page. With like Gotham Knights didn't do it for us, and that game came out and didn't do anything for those, and
it's been forgotten about it.
Absolutely swept under the rug. And I kind of have felt a long time the same about this. If this was just a follow-up to Arkham Knight, a single-player Batman game, I'd be so hyped for this right now. And if they delay it, I'd be like, yeah, take all the time. But there's just something about this that I just don't give two shits about the Suicide Squad and what they're trying to do. And even with another X amount of months worth of polish, how long have they got? Like, this is like 9 months extra worth of polish they're going to get. Can they change the fundamentals of the game to kind of combat the backlash they got from that state of play, or is it just too late for this?
My worry is that they're going to really try hard to do that, and essentially just like, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Kind of like just overcomplicate, overcolute, and like just in trying to refine it, make it worse. Do you like that scene? Like, this is a really random example.
Deep cut.
Do you remember the original Mr. Bean movie where he has to he tries to steal a painting or something?
Whistler's mother,
and and he ends up like just ruining it completely as he tries to fix it. I just like imagine it's going to be that.
So he's putting paint thinner on it instead, and then that's a very deep cut, but it works. It works. I like the analogy. It could be the case that I do feel sometimes for the staff at Rocksteady, because there are rumors that they were working on a Superman game for quite a while, and then that got scrapped, and then it was a Justice League game, and then that got eventually turned into the Suicide Squad game, and there was no doubt pressures on them from the board or the chairman or whoever it is to make a multiplayer monetized title. And I think it's took so long to come out. They've missed that window. The whole era of monetized games with microtransactions is gone. We've seen Shadow of War. We've seen Battlefront 2. Like, they came out 5+ years ago, and they took the hits. They went down fighting, and we've moved on, and we've got 2 new Star Wars games since then. We haven't got another Lord of the Rings game, but the Wonder Woman game is in the works. And basically, all the franchises seem to have moved away from this and learnt from their mistakes. And Rocksteady have took that damn long, through whatever rhyme or reason, in 2024, when this game finally comes out, 9 years after Arkham Knight, I feel like we could have just had 2 Batman games in this time.
The crazy thing is, like, if they'd have taken this long to make like an Arkham kind of Knight style game again, fair enough, it takes like however many years, they'll have completely missed like the games as a service kind of arc of the past kind of like decade or whatever, and they'll have still been on time to like get the single player revival, which is like being led by like Fallen Order and things like that. So if they just stuck to what they were good at and what everyone loved, even if with this massive delay, they'd probably still be in a good position to kind of ride the trend. But they're bringing for all intents and purposes, what seems like a bad game onto an outdated mode of kind of, play game system, and it's just got nothing going for it. Like
it's worrying, isn't it? Because I've watched the gameplay and it just looked like various people with grappling hook or combinations of grappling hooks fight purple lights. Was my take, and that's the same take I got from Gotham Knights in a way. It's various people with various modes of fighting that just doesn't click. But looking at the time frame for Rocksteady, it's again breakout smash hit with Arkham Asylum back in 2009. Like one of the best games of all time, especially put superhero games on the map before Spider-Man came back around. Yeah, so good. Arkham City 2011. So just a few years later, we got Arkham City. Great game.
Arkham City is like arguably a flawless game for me.
It took everything from Asylum and elevated it to more.
Yeah, ridiculously good.
We then got the spin-off Arkham Origins, which is a great game from WB Montreal, who put out Gotham Knights, unfortunately. They finished Arkham Origins and went to work on Gotham Knights. Didn't take them as long, but we saw what Gotham Knights was. That was 2013, and then, we got to 2015 and we got Arkham Knight from Rocksteady. And then, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 when it's going to launch. The sunken costs fallacy is just insane on this game. Like, game development is not cheap, and it's only going up year on year out. And the longer they take year on year out, everything just increases. I just feel like there's just no win in this. I really don't feel like I don't keep banging the drum about it, but it's bad.
They've arguably missed like the crescendo of like superhero popularity as well, because I'd argue that's on the way down as well, and they've missed a big golden period of that really in the run up to kind of Infinity War and Endgame. Like they were just not present at all, and I think you would have, even though like, obviously it's like Marvel, DC, and whatever, but you'd have still seen like that kind of halo effect as well, which I don't think they'll get now.
I mean, even just looking at like pop culture, Suicide Squad, the terrible one, 2016. So the Suicide Squad movie came out a year after the Arkham Knight game. So obviously they weren't going to turn around a Suicide Squad game in less than a year. That makes no sense. But the movie was terrible anyway, so it's probably best to avoid that one. And then we got the kind of the James Gunn reboot in 2021. 2021 already. So when this game does finally come out in 2024, it's already 3 years beyond all of the goodwill that James Gunn's iteration garnered as well, with Idris Elba and such. Whether there's a sequel that can maybe latch onto, just kind of being in that connected tissue universe. But it's all just a bit messy at the moment. But as I said, I'd rather, if they do feel like they need to take time to fix the game, I would rather they did that to give the players the best quality experience. If they can come out maybe in the new year or maybe at the Game Awards and show some kind of trailer that shows off gameplay and character and story that makes me go, you know what? Yes, I really want to know what happens to King Shark. I really want to know what happens to Harley Quinn and her overly sized mallet. And can we kill Batman and whatnot? But it's an interesting one because obviously come next year we're going to have a whole slew of other games that we want to talk about. And it is that thing where this has been in the news cycle so often, similar to the Call of Duty news, and we just so burnt out on it that it's almost it's guaranteed to have a negative effect now because it's been dragged out for so long. Yeah,
I'm ready to leave this game behind, and it's
not even out.
9 months out from coming out. That's how bad it is.
Crazy. Well, hopefully one thing we will get sooner rather than later will be PlayStation embracing cloud gaming a little bit more. I touched on it earlier in the show. We covered it last week with the Q-Lite rumours and the recent marketing promotion push for PlayStation Remote Play across their social channels. But it looks like Sony may be actually serious about taking care of cloud gaming once again. And here on the channel, we've bemoaned them a little bit for their poor kind of PC offering for cloud gaming and overall the performance. Not having PlayStation 5 games available on it is a big downer. Mm-hmm. It's very limited when you look at the competition and what Game Pass and Xbox are doing and what Google Stadia previously did and what Amazon Alone are doing. It's quite basic. So if you look at the Sony jobs board, however, despite all the rumours going around, it does look like Sony are hiring for 22 roles related to cloud gaming tech, covering development, delivering strategic vision, and a bunch of other things for cloud streaming at PlayStation. We won't go into the job descriptions. You can go look at them if you want to. But essentially, it focuses and highlights that Sony are looking to really ramp up employment on cloud gaming, which is usually a good sign that they are in it for the long run, whether it's from research and development to vision, research, and actually marketing the thing. It's probably a bit overdue, if we're honest, from what we've seen. When they did the PlayStation Plus tier reboot last summer, and we all jumped onto the Platinum Premium tier, thinking we would get everything, all the song and dance, and then I think you and me especially both checked out the PC offering, and it's just so bad and basic. I mean, you bought a PS5. I don't know. That's good for Sony, I guess, in a way, but
I mean, I guess so.
They got more money out of you.
I remember trying to play Ghost of Tsushima on cloud, and I was like, why are people buzzing over how this game's supposed, how beautiful this game is? It looks like shit. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is why. It's the actual service, not the game itself.
Absolutely.
Very disappointing.
So it does look like it's here to stay. We've known here on the channel, again, our whole channel is based around cloud gaming, and it does work. We've been talking about it and working. Like last night I was playing Amazon Luna with a Razer Kishi, playing Guacamelee 2. Not the most frame necessary or Twitch responsiveness type of game, but played it on my phone perfectly fine, boot it up, didn't have it, and even know I was going to be playing it until I had a little flick through the menu and went, oh, there it is, I'll check it out. That's the real true benefit of cloud gaming. And PlayStation obviously bought Gaikai many years ago, probably when Rocksteady was still working on Arkham Knight, and they bought it to future-proof their technology. They have announced recently as well, within the job postings, it does suggest that they're working on a hybrid cloud infrastructure that uses Kubernetes and Amazon's AWS server, which is interesting because, as we alluded to earlier in the show, Microsoft and Sony were supposed to be working together on using Azure for cloud gaming, which is the one that powers Xbox cloud gaming. It seems like Sony are quite open to maybe working with other people, which is no surprise that they don't want to put all their eggs in one basket with Microsoft, because you just, similar to what we were saying in story number 1, is that you're just paying your rival to do something that you could probably do cheaper elsewhere or do it more in-house. Yeah. And we've been saying that all along with Sony, is they've got the games, they've got the IP, they've got the nostalgia, they've got the franchise, but they've never quite really been a tech brand that focuses on cloud gaming. Their infrastructure just isn't strong enough. No. Same with Nintendo's. Nintendo's online infrastructure is shit. It is so bad. It's embarrassing to some degree that a tech company doesn't have a better setup. But Google, Amazon, Apple, to a degree, all have that kind of internal infrastructure, and if the job listings are right, then we may see PlayStation powered by Amazon's AWS or a version of Luna at some point. And this is one thing we always batted our heads about on the Sounds of Stadia podcast, is that if Google shit the bed with Stadia and they closed it all down, but the tech was best in class for cloud gaming, undoubtedly.
Oh, incredible, yeah.
Why are they not brokering a deal with Sony to bring cloud gaming? All you need to do, it sounds simple, but all the games that you've got, port them to, or even get Google to make a version of PlayStation in the cloud, and that emulates the game or ports the game over easier. Forget all your Linux stuff, Google. Just focus on PlayStation, make this deal, and you can kind of live on, I guess, in the world of PlayStation. Because Sony need the help. They went to Microsoft, their biggest rival, for help. And evidently now, based on the job listings, they're not looking at it. But I just feel like they're a little bit behind with cloud technology. And for what, in my mind, a lot of people's mind is they are the best in the industry. It's so disappointing that they can nail the games, but I can't play God of War on the move without buying a Steam Deck or without getting a backbone and using my PS5 to remote play it, because I can't play PS5s on cloud yet. It's just not a thing. Yeah, but day one Xbox releases, I can jump on within minutes of them launching, and it's there to play it on my phone, on my PC, on my laptop, on my tablet, just like that. And Sony just aren't on parity with that right now. And these job listings suggest that they're finally kind of just putting the foot in the door and saying, yeah, we need to maybe fix this. Otherwise, that Q Lite's going to drop like a bombshell. If the infrastructure is that shit when it launches, then yeah, it ain't going to sell very well if it doesn't work.
I think it goes back to we talked about this a while ago, but in Sony's ideal world, cloud gaming picked up no steam and kind of died a death the same way 3D TVs have and that type of thing. Sony's life would be infinitely easier if everyone stuck to the console kind of system that we're all used to. So I think they've been dragged into cloud gaming as opposed to wanting to push it, and which kind of shows how they are significantly far behind. But it's good that they're kind of putting these job listings out. I mean, these people who they'll need to hire aren't easy hires, so I wouldn't
very
expect
niche.
anything. Yeah, definitely so. Especially like the volume they're hiring at as well. So it will take like probably like 12, 18 months to see any of this kind of actually like come into something that we notice.
Yeah.
But it's really encouraging that they're kind of looking at partners. Like people, well, at least I didn't appreciate how much of our live and internet kind of AWS powers. Like there was whenever there's been an outing, like for AWS, which admittedly is rare, like you're astounded by the things that just don't work for some reason, and it really shows. So they've got the infrastructure. They're good people to partner with, and yeah, hopefully kind of Sony gets dragged into cloud gaming to the point where they're like, okay, let's do this right, and then in 18 months we have something that is completely unrecognizable to the current offering, which would be very, very nice.
I do think it just echoes the fact, after having such almost like tread well with the performance of Stadia to some degree, it almost baffles me that I go on the PlayStation app on my phone and I can see the catalogue of games, I can see my trophies, I can search for titles, I can turn my PlayStation 5 on. But when I go to a game, there isn't an option that says like play now on my phone, because there is with Xbox, there was with Stadia, there is with Luna. And when you and me jump over to our PC and we load up the PlayStation kind of little plus icon, and I can't play all of the games I've been playing for the last 2 years on my PS5. They just don't exist on my PC. Like, obviously, PlayStation have got their PC ports, which they're focusing on now. We know The Last of Us just performed brilliantly on its PC debut. So it's crazy how like they're all in the same industry, and yet they all do things so differently. But we'll have to wait to find out what Sony are doing with their cloud gaming world. And in the meantime, it looks like someone else as Sony recruit people. It looks like they may have lost Spider-Man, oddly enough, from PlayStation Plus. Earlier in the show, we announced all of the games coming this month to PlayStation Plus. However, it does look like, reading deeper into the blog, that there's a couple of games moving and leaving as part of their typical normal content refresh, as PlayStation quoted. In the PlayStation blog, it notes that Spider-Man, Resident Evil, NBA 2K Battlegrounds 2, amongst other games, will be leaving as part of the refresh. And that's no surprise. Games come and go. That's the whole point of it. Not really many big ones are leaving. You've got Homefront Revolution, a bunch of other indie games. I'm just looking through the list now, thinking nothing massive. Windbound, Metro 2033. It is, yeah, it really is. But the big standout one is Spider-Man's a PlayStation exclusive. It's made by one of their studios, and it's one of their best-selling games. So should this not be just in perpetuity on PlayStation Plus?
It's kind of confusing for me, because I'm trying to figure out what the logic is. Like, are they going for if we start to build up the hype of like the new Spider-Man, like we can get some more sales from the original if it's not in PlayStation Plus. Like, I'm guessing that's what they're going for. I can't really think of another reason to remove a title. Like, probably everybody who wants to play it has already played it and more than likely bought it, because it came like a bit before like the subscription glut that we've seen in the past, like the past few years. Like, that's the only kind of reason I can see. I can't really see why else it would make sense.
Yeah, all I can visualize it is just a pure greed standpoint, where if they remove it from the subscription service, probably put it up to close to brand new price again, in the hope that when all the reveals happen this summer for Spider-Man 2, everyone sees the trailers, the hype starts to build, the marketing machine kicks off, and everyone who's got a PS5 or a PS4 or PC, because remember this is available on PC now, sees all that and goes, oh, you know what? I could just jump in and play I never played the original, I might jump in now. And Sony look at that and go, cha-ching, everyone who's unfortunately missed out for the last several years jumps in day one and pays almost full price for it again, like $49.99 or something like that. And then inevitably it'll go free, because, you'd imagine, like, Microsoft wouldn't do this with a Game Pass title. Like, could you imagine them turning around after Starfield's launch in 2 years' time and go, Starfield's no longer on Game Pass, or Minecraft is no longer on Game Pass? It's like, it's almost a given that if you're a first-party studio, first-party game, owned by Sony on all fronts, it just stays there.
I think it's a bit short-sighted as well because it does, like, you touched on it there, like, there's certain expectations when it comes to Game Pass, which, in my mind, adds a lot of value to it. It's like, I know that anything like Xbox first party, I'll have access to, like, more or less in perpetuity.
Yeah.
If that's not the same with PlayStation Plus, then the value of keeping that subscription diminishes. So it like arguably it does more damage to PlayStation Plus in the long term than you could for like a couple of marginal sales on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man went through a campaign on PC when you bought kind of some GeForce hardware, like Nvidia hardware, like you got a free code. I have it on PC. It looks amazing, but it was a free code for buying a graphics card. Like, the game's already so well distributed. I don't know how many more people will be buying.
Yeah, it's an odd one. And you would imagine having it on the library would bring people into PlayStation Plus. So we said there people would go and buy it with the hype of the marketing. But at the same time, if they didn't have PlayStation Plus, they might go, I want to play Spider-Man. Oh, look, it's included in the subscription. I'll sub for a month and then in hope they stay on it again into the future. So it's another one. All I can really think is maybe it's some licensing thing down to do with like their deal with with Marvel, MCU, Disney. And if they're going to market or promote it, it needs to be, even though there's no like Tom Holland movie in the works, there could be an Avengers thing in the future. There might be a cameo in one of the upcoming Marvel movies that Spider-Man, they're only allowed to promote it within certain windows leading up to it. Who knows? Like, who knows? Yeah. Like, it could be something really, really weird. But at the end of the day, Sony own everything there is to know about this game, so it's an odd choice to say the least. Moving on though to some unfortunate news for another of PlayStation's first party titles. Dreams from Media Molecule, long game in development, finally released a couple of years back, which it's hard to really call Dreams a game because it is essentially just a gaming platform where you can make and create anything and everything you wanted to, from the makers of Little Big Planet originally and Tearaway. They announced this week over on Twitter that unfortunately, Dreams will cease to be supported later on this year. Unlike any other game we've worked on at Media Molecule, it's been exciting, challenging, and most importantly, an unforgettable collaborative journey with you over the years. From the beta to the launch, from our first Dream Walk to the 4th Impy Awards, which are their annual awards celebrating the best made creations within the game, which I think is a nice, cute little thing to do. Today, we share important updates for Dreams in 2023 regarding our servers. And essentially, they go on in the blog post to say that they'll be limiting storage space. So if you've made a creation within the game, you're not going to have like infinite storage to make the biggest game ever. You are going to be limited to 5 gig of online storage and 1 gig local. Content will be deleted and archived going forward. There'll be no future updates or versions, and online support will again cease to exist eventually. So the game's not going to be fully dead, but essentially it's been put out. And my guess is Media Molecule move on to other things. The director of this game did win a BAFTA award 2 years ago, I believe. So this game has got a lot of kind of critical praise. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, Rob, but like some of the creations in this are like mind blowing.
Oh, it's crazy. Like I looked into it a bit before because I never actually played it myself, but I looked into it.
Not many people have. That's the problem.
That's the thing for the purpose of the show, really. And there's something like, it's going to sound a bit kind of whimsical or whatever, but there's something a bit depressing where like all these are kind of like original creations and like original kind of, you could call like art in
undoubtedly,
in a strictest sense, right? And like, in a flick of a switch, they get mass deleted, like, and they're not just kind of like damaged, or they're not kind of like shoved in like a storeroom to be forgotten about. They are literally just wiped off the face of the planet, never to be recovered again. And that's a bit sad.
It's when Dreams always struggled for me because it wasn't a game. Like Little Big Planet works so well with the creation tools, but it had at its front and center, it had Sackboy. It had a relatable little cute character that everyone could kind of get around, and it had a campaign. It had a story around Sackboy and his friends, narrated by Stephen Fry, colourful, cute, whimsical world, and you had loads of fun. I remember around my house we used to play on PS3, Little Big Planet, where there would just be bombs all over the floor, sharks,
the bomb
and
levels,
all four of us would try and get who could survive on the map the longest, and it was just chaos and fun. And then Media Molecule teased this game at one of the initial PlayStation. I think it was the PS4 launch announcement, actually. That's how long ago it was. It took years in development, then it went in a beta, and then it finally came out. And everyone looked at it and went, so what is the actual game? Like they had a little mini campaign in it, but with like a sprite character, but nothing lengthy or relatable. And then I think they wanted to leave it to the community to kind of make these amazing creations, which you can. We've all seen like the full English breakfast made in Dreams. Looks like one of the best breakfasts you could ever eat. The thing's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's rendered in a digital engine. We've seen people recreate like Resident Evil and Crash Bandicoot levels in Dreams, and they look just as good as the original. But it never really went on from that. And I think that was its biggest problem, that this is a game engine that is definitely for creators, and it's an undoubtable fantastic engine, but it's not a video game. And when you're in the video games market and trying to sell it to an audience of both like children and adults and gamers alike, what is there to play? And I think
it's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, and this never got a PC release. If this was on PC, imagine how the mod community would take this. Like, modders are some of the craziest, most inventive people you could possibly come across on the internet. If you gave them this tool and went, have at it, they would make amazing things. And for some reason, Sony have kept Dreams back in every way, shape, or form they possibly can, from marketing to promotion to shutting it down early to not making a PC part of it. And now this engine in this game will just kind of, like you said, just unfortunately be wiped from the face of the internet.
Yeah, it's really sad, because I think with the proper push, and as you said, a PC port, like, it would have got that kind of critical mass of community, and then you kind of get like, all you need is like a couple of YouTube shorts or like a couple of like TikTok clips of like this ridiculous creation being made, and then that kind of self-sustains a lot of the time. And it just seems that Sony never had the appetite, or they didn't know how to position it as not a traditional game. It was a creative platform on a PlayStation, basically. It's probably wrong to call it a game, to be honest.
Yeah.
And they just never kind of got behind it, I don't think, which is a tremendous shame.
Yeah, it's definitely one that'll probably be lost to time. Media Molecule, however, they are looking to work on a new project. They've confirmed they're not ready to talk about it yet, and it is not Dreams 2, or it's not part of the Dreams IP either, so it's going to be something new. I'm looking forward to what they do next, because there was a worry with the performance of Dreams that they might close down Media Molecule. Like, what are they going to do next? We saw them close down Sony Japan not a while back. And is there place for Dreams? No. Is there a place for Little Big Planet? I think there still is, but that's been passed on to other studios now, so it's not even their IP to really work with. Tearaway was great on the PlayStation Vita. It was very, very creative and intuitive, and the studio's got such good talent. And as I said, BAFTA award winning. I just want them to really, like PlayStation have done so well with like Naughty Dog and Insomniac, and just let them get on with what they want to do. And they obviously did this last time round, and it didn't work with Dreams. So maybe you hone the reins in a little bit on them, but still, because they're so creative. I'd love to see what they want to do next, but we're obviously several years out from that. So, but glad to know that they're working on a new project, and they're not just being shuttered after the poor performance of Dreams. And hopefully a lot quicker than the last one. Moving on to our final stories of the week. We spoke about it on last week's show, actually, about Arc 2 and all of the chaos going on around there. It was closing, similar to Dreams actually, closing the servers down for the original Arc game, forcing you to rebuy the game in a remastered form. And then also they delayed the launch of the second game into a bundle. They've came out and actually updated. Studio Wildcard, who make Ark, have came out with a little bit of an update for everyone. So they've recognised, this is reading from their blog, we've recognised our intention was to provide a package where you essentially got two products for the price of one. In hindsight, not the best move, the studio wrote, before admitting our bad. We recognise how combining Ark Survival Ascended, which is the remaster, with Ark 2 and requiring further DLC upgrades wasn't optimal, especially since you wouldn't have been able to judge Ark 2 as no gameplay or content would have been available yet. Instead of this bundle, Ark Survival Ascended will now be released as a standalone package across PC, Xbox, and PS5 and will cost $59.99. So, at the same time, they've also delayed Ark 2. So, we covered the delay of Ark 2 last week, right? I'm not getting my wires crossed. The game was delayed, but then the kick to the balls was the fact that they were going to close the original game down, and the other one was delayed. So there was no way to play in that small pocket window between times without having to rebuy the whole game again in remastered form. So evidently the devs have listened to the backlash, which I guess we should praise them for, even though they did word their blog post in a very I'm down with the cool kids My bad.
suboptimal. It's like it's not us making a really piece of shit business decision. It was just suboptimal, guys. You know, it's like, come on.
Our bad. I guess the gamers win though in this front. You can buy the game independently. You don't have to buy the sequel, which has now been delayed, to keep playing Ark if that so wishes. I feel like a lot of the damage is already done. Like you've already you probably spurned your player base already to probably just go play a modded version on a dodgy server now, which is what they recommended last week. You can still play on illegal servers. not really what you want, but either way. Any additional thoughts on Ark 2, Rob?
Like, if I wasn't gonna buy it before because I don't particularly like games that are in alpha and then bring out DLC when the alpha isn't complete or whatever. But there's not a hope in hell I'm buying Ark 2 now. Absolutely not.
You've got to laugh at it sometimes, don't you? And then our final stories then, just to round up the show, a couple of nice quick ones. Sony veteran Shuhei Yoshida is now going to be a digital collectible as part of the Sony PlayStation Stars loyalty program. Nice little fun one here, Rob. Shuhei Yoshida, obviously one of the head honchos over at Sony, focused very much now on the indie titles. He came out and basically announced on Twitter that alongside like 3D models of Ape Escape and in the digital collectible libraries that none of us really give a damn about, it's just that that app section of the icon on your phone. If you play one of his recommended games, A Space for the Unbound, Before Your Eyes, Cult of the Lamb, Neon White, Sifu, or The Night Witch, all indie games, which appropriate considering his title at PlayStation is to look after indie games. You get a little bobblehead of Shuhei Yoshida to sit in your library on your little shelf. So there's a few things I like of this. One, it's cool that they're embracing people who work at PlayStation, because I do feel like for the entire last generation, they've got away from having humans represent their brand, and they've very much fell back into it's just a faceless voice on a video who introduces this is the PlayStation Showcase. Today we'll be talking about, whereas a few years ago they had Shuhei, they had Andrew Trent, I think it was. They had like all of their head honchos were like front and center on stage. Andrew House, like those people existed and they came out on a stage, talked to people. Gamers are gamers. And then that just all kind of fell away to now just being this like faceless voice of business now.
Yeah, it was a bit dystopian, wasn't it? When it was just like this big kind of artificial voice saying consume product. Product.
Absolutely.
It's nice to get the human element back into it.
Yeah, and Shuhei is an absolute legend. He's been around for so long, and he's one of the last remaining kind of few of the old guard, I guess. And he was, in a way, he was demoted because he was one of PlayStation's like directors, I believe, or something or other, and then he was moved over to head of indie something. And it almost felt like it was like a slight against him, but he's still around. He's got his own bobblehead now, so he can retire happy. And so if you check out one of his games, it does probably set a precedence for we might see a couple of more fun little bobbleheads coming about, because let's face it, Stars isn't really setting the world on fire, and I'm not scrambling to fill out my virtual shelf with collectibles right now. And our final PlayStation story of the week is Sony does appear to have stopped sending emails for when you claim games that are completely free. This is one of my bugbears. I don't know if this catches you out every time, Rob, but when the month ticks over and we get our new games lists, obviously always try and go in and claim them if you can, just so they're in your library. Whether you intend to play them or not, always claim your games so you can go back and jump in. And every time I claim them, about an hour or so later, I have a quick glance at my emails and it's got 3 emails that say, thanks for your purchase, thanks for your purchase, thanks for your purchase. And I panic and think, shit, have I bought something without realising? Has someone got my card details?
Every month. On.
Yeah. Every month this happens. And I look at the email and go, oh, it's just when I've claimed Sackboy's Big Adventure. It's just when I've claimed X free game this month. It does appear that the digital receipts for games that are free are going to stop, which is, it's a nice quality of life thing that they should have probably done years ago. But I'm glad to see it happening.
Is this one of those things, like, when you kind of work in, like, that, like, sector, it's just something that'll get overlooked for more important things again and again and again.
Yeah.
But, no.
Because I understand it is technically a purchase. You do want a paper trail of, like, you've acquired this game, you want to add it to your catalogue. Although there's no monetary cost to it, it still is going through the same, add it to your basket, claim the game, even though it's tallied as 000. So yeah, I can totally see from a logical business point where the system would just process it like a normal transaction and distribute you a receipt just like a normal transaction.
Yeah.
But it does just make you chuckle to think like how many millions of emails get sent out every single month to say, thanks for your purchase, and how many people get sent into a panic of, I haven't bought anything. Like, if you've got kids out there who maybe buy a lot of, like, Fortnite books and stuff on your card, to see these transaction receipts coming through at a random time of the month must set you into a bit of a panic. So, problem solved. We no longer have to worry about that. But that brings us to an end for this week's episode of Talking the PS, your weekly show where we round up all the PlayStation news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on Helix Plays Games. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and ring that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of our great shows and content like this one, XPass, our weekly live streams and Let's Plays, where this week we're probably going to go check out Minecraft Legends, of course launching on PlayStation and Xbox respectively. And that's been it for this week's show. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Rob.
We've been Talking to PS. Thank you very much for watching, folks, and play whatever makes you the happiest. See you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.